Richard was found in 2012 by archaeologists in England. From the skull, they could see that he had died of head trauma and had spinal abnormalities. They also say that he died of many humiliation injuries around the pelvis. So, what are the most common spinal abnormalities that you know of?
So there are three common spinal abnormalities. The first is called lordosis, when the lumbar vertebrae, the lower back vertebrae, curve too far forward. So it gives people kind of a pronounced lean in their pelvis. And then kyphosis is the one where the upper vertebrae all kind of arch forward, and it makes it really difficult to breathe because of that. And then the most common one is scoliosis, where you get more of a S shape of the back, and it kind of tilts the vertebrae from that standpoint. So looking from the back, you have that curve going across the back. Yeah.
So what is scoliosis?
So scoliosis is when the spine curves to the side. So instead of being vertical and being straight, it kind of curves sideways. And that often causes kind of a dip to one side and a shift in the hips because of that.
So when would someone, usually develop scoliosis?
So it can develop, some people can develop it as soon as they're born. A lot of people develop it from wear and tear. Sometimes there's what's referred to as idiopathic, which there is no known cause and no specific time where it would develop.
So what are some common side effects of scoliosis?
So I think the biggest one is what we kind of mentioned there earlier. It'll cause back pain or leg pain, but you'll actually get a curvature, which will often, instead of shoulders being even, they'll tip one side to the other. Almost like as if you bring one shoulder closer to your hip on one side.
So in the case of Richard III, do you think that scoliosis could be one of the reasons he was kind of so bitter and angry all the time?
I suppose if you had some sort of deformity there and they didn't have the medicine to treat it at that time, that could make you angry and frustrated. And if he was picked on for it and stuff like that, I suppose that could lead to that.
Okay, so he had a curvature spine, but they sort of inferred that the arm and the limp were kind of exaggerated or fake from that. So premature babies can experience issues in communicating with others, physical development, cerebral palsy, autism, and mainly neurological disorders that prevent them from getting along with others. So what are some common long-term issues that occur from premature birth? So
most commonly with premature birth, we'll see problems with cognitive abilities, as well as eyesight and things like that. And in terms of what you were speaking to, it could impair somebody's ability to really get along with other people and socialize and do those types of things.
Okay. So do you think that the behavioral issues that can come along with being a premature baby, do you think they are actual issues, or is it common to them to develop over time?
Well, I think they can start off as issues, and there's often treatment for people to work on those things, and I don't think those would have existed at the time of Richard III. So you could talk about it from that standpoint, and then if untreated, I can imagine it could get worse and worse and worse.
So as I said before, cerebral palsy is a common side effect for babies that are born prematurely, and it can result in issues with movement, posture, and balance. So Richard is believed to have some abnormality that resulted in the inability for him to use one of his arms. So is it possible that cerebral palsy could have attributed to the loss of the function of his arm?
Yeah, and I think you also link in the potential for the scoliosis, and that could actually impair nerves as they exit the vertebrae and that kind of stuff. So you could see a connection there.
So what are some other common symptoms of a person who's suffering from cerebral palsy?
So cerebral palsy affects the muscles overall. Walking, any motor movement can have an effect, but usually you see it first affected in the legs, and the joints will be tighter, weakness in muscles as a whole, and usually the inability to eventually walk.
Okay. So overall, do you believe that these different problems that Richard suffered made him so inhumane? Do you think that would have any sort of connection?
I could see a connection there. If somebody's kind of mistreated over the course of their life, or they're kind of miserable over the course of their life, you could see how they might take it out on other people.
Okay, cool.
Introduction. As said by Gray, now Margaret's curse is fallen upon our heads, when she exclaimed on Hastings, "You and I," for standing by when Richard stabbed her son. Specifically, the use of cursing by the angry ex-Queen Margaret toward each major character reflected upon the beliefs of witchcraft during the 1400s. In the play Richard III, the influence of paganism and spirituality foreshadowed many major events that drove the plot forward.
People's response to witchcraft. The Elizabethan era sparked a new belief that witches and witchcraft were real and evil. It was during this time period that the belief in the supernatural heightened. The hysteria was so bad that in 1542, Parliament passed the Witchcraft Act, making witchcraft a crime punishable by death. As a result, many people began hunting and persecuting people who seemed suspicious of witchcraft and working with the spiritual world.
Paganism. The most common definition of witchcraft is the practice of black magic with the use of a spiritual power. The word witch comes from the Anglo-Saxon word of Wicca, which means to bend out of shape. Paganism overlaps with witchcraft due to paganistic factions within the belief that nature and the divine can help change certain events. Witchcraft is a term that originated during the Roman era in Europe before the practice of major religions. Instead of the belief in one major religion, many people worship polytheistic gods involving nature and relationships. The belief that paganism is anti-Christianity is false. It just merely originated before the unified power of one major religion. Some of the gods that helped believe change events were the gods of herbal essence to ensure good planting and harvesting. The most worshipped superhumans were by far women in a variety of cultures. It is important to recognize the powerful role that women had in being pagan. The gods that were being worshipped were overall the same, and they were just simply adapted by the different groups of people to fit their culture. For example, in Egypt, Isis, or the goddess of the moon, overlapped closely with Aphrodite, who overruled the power of love. As you can see, they are unified under the belief of sexual love, yet differ in culture.
The Enlightenment era. The Enlightenment era was ultimately the downfall to the belief in witchcraft. The Enlightenment era took place all over Europe during the 17th and 18th centuries. People began to question religion and further developed their understanding and knowledge of politics, philosophy, science, and communication. People began to value education and empower themselves through the use of knowledge. This led to the constant challenge of those in power and the questioning of what had long been accepted. People began to question the church, and the influence of religion in people's everyday lives began to decrease. These new studies and information ultimately marked the period where people began to grow in disbelief of witchcraft and wizardry. People were not as fearful of the supernatural and felt self-empowered.
Common practices. Pagan rituals focus on honoring deities and often pay respect to aspects of the natural world. For example, the changing of the seasons and the different phases of the moon are revered. Different life stages such as birth, marriage, and death are also important to pagans. Pagan rituals often involve chanting, dancing, and drumming, and are normally performed in large groups. Pagans practice their religion in their daily lives as well. They often create altars in their home and practice spiritual exercises, such as lighting a candle or meditating. One important spiritual exercise is spoken intention, which is speaking one's desires in order to make it real. Another important spiritual exercise is practicing magic. This relates to the belief that cursing actually can predict events to come. Magic is aimed at creating change in the individual and in the world. It functions like praying in other religions. The use of charms, spells, and potions are also involved, usually with herbal medicines.
How it overall relates to Richard. As we have stated, witchcraft and cursing played a major role in the tragedy of Richard III. The main theme of witchcraft, which was evident from Act 1 to Act 5, was cursing. In the play, every major female character had at least one person whom they cursed, and each of their curses proved true in the end. In paganism, witchcraft was found to be a female-dominant practice. It gave females the ability to have power and strength over men. The women in Richard III strongly support the overall theme of pagan practices. However, it is important not to forget that all the characters in the play are Catholic. Hi, can you please state your name and position?
My name is Margaret, and I was the former queen and wife of King Henry VI.
If you could describe Richard in one sentence, what would it be?
If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Abortive, rooting hog.
Do you think you played an effective role in Richard's demise?
Have you had the pleasure of hearing me curse? Oh, we have recording. Denise! Denise! Bye, Belson. I got some words for you.
Nelson came to school 2017.
So much forgot.
Do you believe that your curses actually worked?
Of course I do. The fates work the way they do. I only gave the push it really needed to, turn into a tsunami.
When did you start cursing?
That's a really funny story. Well, at the start of the day, I stumbled upon this blog called Paganism Daily. Really, really great site. I learned about cursing there super effectively. This was just before the Yorks came knocking, trying to, take my son's birthright. So I was prepared when they came, for sure. The trick is to think of the biggest thing possible and make it I read that and I was like, done and done. Am I right, ladies? I mean...
How would you respond to those who call you a heathen?
Honey, if I'm a heathen, then so is the entire parliament. We all believe what we choose. Some gods are just more effective. I like to think mine is the most. Men are constantly threatened by women in power. It's tale as old as time, beating the beast. So call me a heathen. That's a woman in power for you. All my friends are heathens singing songs.
Thank you, Margaret.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
Have a nice day.
Thank you, you too.
Keep cursing. Hi, can you state your name and position?
I'm the Duchess of York, and I also Dutch over York.
How's your son doing these days?
Well, first of all, he's dead. But I mean, I can't complain considering all the that we through.
So, I take it you don't like your son?
Ever since he came out of the womb, he's been the worst kind of kid to raise. So, he was always greedy, never really, played nice with the other kids. When he grew up into a teenager, he became more and more evil. And, death was coming to him. It was pretty inevitable, I'd say so.
Whatever happened to unconditional love? Motherly instinct?
I'm sorry, I don't know what that means. I understand all of those words, separately, but not together.
What about your other children, though?
Well, it wasn't that I didn't love them, but they were all dead, because one bastard son decided to kill them all.
Do you believe in cursing?
Oh my goodness, absolutely. I've just never felt more relieved, when I cursed Richard, he had it coming to him. But, seriously, I've never seen a person, who curses and not be successful. Look at Margaret, for example. She's on top of the world right now.
Do you believe in paganism, by any chance?
Is that, pescatarians? They don't eat meat? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, it's something of an umbrella term, and witches fall under that umbrella. Witches perform curses and hexes, but many practicing witches believe in the threefold rule. That being whatever you curse, someone else will get back threefold.
I went to Catholic school for 12 years, and, I heard nothing of what you said, so I have no comment.
Okay. Well, last question. If you could have said any last thing to Richard before he died, what would it be?
Oh my gosh, great question. I'll quote Margaret on this one. He was, "Thou slander of thy heavy mother's womb."
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, could you please state your name and position?
Hi, I'm Elizabeth, the former queen. I was married to King Edward IV after he died from gluttony.
Well, when did you and your brother-in-law Richard first develop such hard feelings towards one another?
Well, first of all, apparently Richard isn't legitimate, so let's put that out there. I never had good feelings towards them, and Richard, I mean, he's deformed, which is disgusting. And he's just really awful, and he's greedy, and I knew he wasn't a good friend to me.
What first inspired you to start cursing?
Oh, hold on, 1 second. I just got a text from Richmond. It's a meme. It's a meme of Richard. You know, my Richmond is going to be my daughter's fiance now, so yeah. It's really funny. Do you want to see it?
Actually, why don't we just stick to the questions for right now?
Whatever your loss.
Maybe after.
Your loss.
So, what inspired you to start cursing?
Okay, well, first off, I'm a queen, so I can't go around just killing people. I can't go around killing Richard. And I heard that Margaret's curses kind of work, so I was thinking of just taking some lessons from her. So I just decided to start cursing from her.
You started cursing under pagan tradition, but you took your kid to sanctuary. What do you even believe in?
Well, first of all, don't accuse me for protecting my sons, because that's just something I needed to do. And if you had your facts straight, Mr. Interviewer, I mean, what's your name? I mean, doesn't matter, whatever. Anyways, paganism encompasses nature and the divine, and they like to live every day like it's their last, so it's kind of like YOLO. So if you're accusing me of having YOLO, then whatever, sue me.
Okay, I think we're done here. Thank you.
Great.
Okay.
How's my hair look?
It was super great.
It's gorgeous.
Hot girl!
Oh, thank
You're
you.
gorgeous. Someone cursed you with good looks. Welcome to the girls' room. Just kidding. It's the cursing/book club. Woo! We meet every Wednesday. And we're really close now. This whole Richard death thing, really, we're just like a tight-knit group of
just brought us
pagan
together.
women. Not
just cursing
pescatarians.
them, you know.
No. We love fish. No hate.
I only come here for the popcorn.
I'm here for the wine.
I hate
Richard.
what ugly.
Your ponytail? Oh, Richard too, for sure.
Wow.
No, Richard, that's
Dead and gone.
my ponytail.
Oh my what?
You know
Anyways.
who I really hate? No, on a serious note.
Seriously.
Definitely Richard.
Oh, of course.
But you know who's really cute?
Richmond?
No, this kid Carson cursed wrong. Really a joke. I don't like you, Carson.
What do you want to curse next? Ladies?
Mr. Morris.
Roy.
Thank you. And that was the Curse Club for the day.
I can't get up.
This is mine.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
Okay,
Shit, I can't put a phone in. I'm like so.
I'm done.
No.
So done. The end.
She's unhinged.